so we talked about Pennsylvania when we met yesterday, but I love how very much Pennsylvania this movie is, down to a piano being in someone's house, because I think every Pennsylvanian kid had to learn piano at some point. When you do set your movies in PA and like bring that to life, what is important to like bring to them to have that authenticity of Pennsylvania, where Pennsylvanians are like, yeah, we all have that?
I mean, it's just evoking kind of the environments that I grew up in, the neighborhoods, kind of the sweet neighborhoods that seemingly nothing could go wrong in, and you felt incredibly safe. And that always makes me feel kind of wicked. Then I put something really dark happening in a sweet neighborhood or something like that. Or, you know, the experience of coming into the city, the big city, to see a concert, and how excited you are with your parents to see something. You know, those kind of childhood memories, you know, it's kind of idyllic, but I felt like I did have kind of a beautiful, like, Spielberg kind of childhood.
Yeah, and when I talked to Salika, I talked about this. I think as women, we have this obsession with serial killers because we're like, if we ever find ourselves in that situation, at least I know how to kind of get out of this. But with this movie, it also kind of clued into something that I've been obsessed with for a really long time, the idea of like these daughters that have to deal with the fact that their fathers did all these things. Is it of any interest to you to ever go back to this story and see what the daughter is going through, having, you know, had that close relationship with her father, and seeing where this movie pans out?
I mean, that's part of the kind of the tension in the movie is, will this girl who idolizes her dad find out? And that's part of what he's navigating, is the two parts of his life that have been easy to keep away from each other, and on this day they've collapsed on each other. And you know, one of the wonderful things I think is his struggle to switch between the two so often, because he didn't really need to do that prior to this. He would leave the house, or they were out of town or whatever, and he could do it the transition weren't as right in front of everybody as now on this day at the concert it is. So protecting her, realizing the potential loss of her, is what's really starting to scare him.
And, you know, I love that there's music. Like, I wore my Patrick Bateman earrings for a reason, because I love how music is playing in this movie with this serial killer. I think it's such a fascinating combination. When you were working with your daughter on, like, crafting how the music was going to play in this and how all of this would work, what were the conversations like when you were mapping it out?
You know, she was, you know, she does everything. So I would say to her, hey, this is who Lady Raven is. You know, this is what we're looking for. Start writing. You know, this is what I'm thinking. I need 14 songs, I would say. You know, this is what, they're different places. Some are in the credits, some are there, whatever. Some was a song that was released before that they're hearing on the radio, whatever it is, you know. And she'd start writing, and in the beginning of the process, she would write a song, and I would go, that's you. That's not her. And then we have to find who her is, you know, who Lady Raven is. And then she wrote a song, and it had like a little wit to it. And we started to realize, oh, wait, she's kind of mischievous. And when we started to realize she's got kind of a playfulness about, you know, things and the way she tells the story, we found Lady Raven. And then that started to morph into Salika commenting on the movie, the wickedness of the movie, kind of the inappropriateness that you're rooting for the bad guy, you know, so songs like Liar and things like that started to happen. And so she would read the scene that it was aimed for and then start to kind of slightly comment on it.
I love that. And for the last question I have to ask, you know, for the most part of this movie, it is a contained, like, you're in an arena.
Yeah.
And then you get to go out into this free world after it. What for you was the more challenging part, containing everything in that arena space as a director, or when you did get to venture out into the real world?
You know, for me, it was the fun part about the movie is that as I was writing it, it kind of evolved, and it took right turns structurally that I was like, whoa, it wants to go there, and I didn't have any warning as the writer that I was going to do that. It kind of evolved into like, oh my God, what if this happened, and what if that happened? You know, they're both exercises in containment. And one has 20,000 people that I have to make feel like you're contained, but because I'm coming from one person's point of view, it's easier to do. This noise that's happening around him with the 20,000 kids screaming and all that stuff is a wonderful platform for a challenge. It's an obstacle, you know? And then when that ends and it becomes very intense and siloed into this kind of play-like thing, I kind of love the way that felt to me of going big to small.
Yeah. And I do love that Josh Hartnett is so tall in this movie. It makes me laugh every time it would do the shot of like how tall he is.
I know, he's so tall.
But thank you for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.